nurturance, and there's just this full range of that that's available here.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. So it doesn't feel like a bubble of just one flavor.
No, definitely not. There's many, many mystical beings and creatures here.
Oh. Yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, you lead, my love.
Okay, so let us so let's tune into, well, first, why don't we actually tune into the energies of 2020, since that's what we're focalizing, and what you've been sensing and intuiting around that, and what you feel is in store for the year ahead.
Yeah. I feel it's gonna lead us into the topic that you named already, because it just came through, darling. It came through that 2020 is the year of mastery. That's the frequency. And I look into numerology, because numbers do not lie. Numbers are very, very objective and clear evidence, right? This is a language of the universe. So the universal year 4 is 2020. And I got to experience personal year 4 this year, 2019. So I literally, as a life path 1, I literally ran the energies of 2020 through my body in 2019. And I remember sharing in the beginning of 2019, I'm like, my loves, there, I am going in. I'm going to bring the insights to the community, because, I'm going through it. And if you think about number 4, it's 4 corners, 4 pillars. It's all about foundation. And it's really about, those of us who will be willing to look under every creak and cranny, under every carpet, and just like, what's hiding there? Let me examine it. Like, oh my God, my foundation has rotten, and there's mice, and there's raccoons, and I wasn't even aware, because the previous year, 2019, was number 3, which is communication and creativity, and like catching all these ideas. And next year is all about, okay, let's roll up our sleeves and let's actually devote ourselves to making those ideas cloaked into matter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. This is stunning. Well, my life path number is 4.
So who knows?
Very, very deeply intimate with all of this. and going into the, so a couple of things arise as you're sharing. And one is the foundation of our creations, and which ones are truly legacy oriented. So what are we constructing that is absolute, that is timeless, and that can carry itself forward beyond our physical incarnation? And then also looking at the roots of that in our embodiment, in the soils of our being and our consciousness, and where are those spaces and places where we can deepen and illuminate and really connect into the unified field of beingness, which is that again, mastery in the way that I experience it. And then how do we take that embodiment and bring it all the way through our transmission and into the world, so that we can architect a new world truly from an integral, solid, grounded space of pure presence in the embodiment, the true embodiment of paradise. So much richness.
Yes. And as a life path 4, from embodiment, how freeing it is to build a foundation that is strong. The stronger is your anchor, the higher you can fly. And that's what this year taught me so much. There were many what looked like, I describe it, the 2019 for me felt like an obstacle course, Spartan race. Like there was I was asked life really asked me to stretch my perception of what I'm truly capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, my mantra was trust next moment, trust next moment. So it is a crucial, 2020 is going to be such a crucial year of a new foundation, of a new decade. And what I feel, Solara, is any thought patterns of being a dabbler, of cruising, of imitating, of copy pasting, of suffocating our original creative voice will not fly.
Right.
They will crumble. And so this is the year. It's like the stamp of what we're going to put a stamp on in 2020. You brought it, was the legacy piece, like what we're going to start in 2020, the energy. Are we going to create from fear and anxiety, collective panic, or am I going to create from absolute sacred genius, my sovereignty and my mastery, right? Then that vibration is going to carry through our entire decade. So it is a big moment, and we've been trained for this. Like entire decade was preparing for this moment of choice point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is glorious. This is glorious. And I'm grateful that you are bringing this forward. So thank you. And, 2019 for me was the Hieros Gamos. That's kind of like the obstacle course that I was in. It was like, can you be on the moving ball and do that dance between the lover and the beloved, and maintain that singular focalized perspective in all moments? So it was like, are you interacting with God, or are you interacting and engaging with a pattern or a program, whether it be within my own being or, in the quote external world? And so that was really starting to solidify and anchor at a whole new level. And, something that I have heard reflected, and I've seen this arising. So I've definitely been in more of a state of, I would say, high priestess awareness over the past month or two. And I've been in deep observation of things that are happening. And overall, in the collective energy, there seems to be a kind of a stall energy that's happening for a lot of people. And I'm not personally experiencing that, although there is a deepening and a richening, and there are new levels of, patience, as it is when you're cultivating a garden and nourishing it into being. And the insight that arose, because I asked, what is this about? Why is this occurring for so many people? And I see it in the entrepreneurial community quite a lot. People who have been highly successful, and they're at this kind of a crux point, right, where the axis is about to tilt. And what was shown to me is that we're being called to inhabit our own genius. And so whatever we have constructed that is based upon other wisdom systems, other traditions, and all of this, although they're all integral pieces that contribute to who we are and who we are becoming and who we have become, what is being called for now is the total, pure, natural, organic, naked emanation of what we each have uniquely mastered and realized and come to embody in our own experience. And so those creations won't move forward until we honor and express that which is genius. Only genius could put this in the logos of creation and make it so that in order for us to advance as a society, we each have to be anchored into our own sovereign genius, which I think is magnificent, because that's what creates the gorgeous tapestry that is life, this emergent creation. There's all of these exotic plants and animals and creatures, and that's what it's. And so it's, seeing from the perspective of, the cosmic mother or the lover, it's like, I'm just kind of ushering you into knowing that it is safe and beautiful to be the total emanation of who you uniquely are. And so I'm going to just slow things down for you until you allow yourself to come into that holy and give it from that space. And the beauty is we're all here empowering that in one another, encouraging that in one another, supporting that in one another. And we're all doing it together and adding our unique kaleidoscope of colors to the stained glass window of creation. And it's exciting. I mean, and it's so liberating too, because it's like, oh, I finally get to just be myself. And it's something that we're all going to be experiencing collectively as a unit, as a family.
Wow. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. like a divine rain of wisdom. Your share was for my soul. I was like, yes, a little bit more rain of that on my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. It is so profound how we are connected, darling, because just in the last 3 hours, I released a vision that I thought that's going to be my next expression, and in my alchemy began on 3 days ago, and I was like, literally, I went into the portal of complete rebirth, complete restructuring, and everything that was not in my zone of genius, just my body was not having it. Like my body was like, I am not in alignment with this. I'm not gonna give you peace until you only stay in your zone of genius. Like if I was able to get away with this before, my body is like, remember who is the master over here? Okay. Let's have a real talk. I am not gonna give you any ease. I only stay in your sovereign sacred genius.
Yeah.
And what you shared is precisely it is, and leaders go first.
Yes, always.
We're putting it through our vehicles, right? Through our avatars. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey guys, it's safe. You can still be standing. Yes, some feathers will be ruffled, but it's a new haircut.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's fascinating. I was having a conversation with a friend several years ago. It's just bringing this back up into my awareness. And we were just talking about mission and purpose and where we were at that stage in our evolutionary unfoldment. And I was like, I feel like I'm going through this jungle and I've got the machete and I'm just chopping through all of the brush to create this clear pathway for others to walk through and land in that space of pure paradise. Mm-hmm. And now it's very much a similar thing, but the way that I interpret it now is, looking at the overall larger landscape as we are source incarnate and in the flesh. And so, when we send out requests or prayers or all of this, and when we're communicating with either our supernatural allies and guides, or we're just communicating with the collective soul of the world, somebody is called to answer those requests. And as leaders, we feel that fire in our belly that compels us to provide the solutions, the answers, the giftings, the service, the support that answers so many of those prayers, so many of those requests that are made. And I know inside of me, I feel that's what that's the compelling force that I feel. And so then I ask, okay, what is being asked for? What is being called for? What is needed? And it's very much an energy of stewardship, of mothering, of fathering, but from a space of pure empowerment, right? And like holding all of us in that space of perfected divinity and empowerment, and going from this space, from this perspective of not needing to save or to rescue, but to deepen, to support someone in deepening and strengthening their own foundations, their own embodiment, their own creations, and then ultimate emancipation through that. what can I provide? What are the tools? What are the resources? What are the gifts, the activations, whatever it is that I have to offer from my wisdom and experience to meet that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm fascinated. I'd love to explore with you a bit about this, because right now in my in my business, I have multiple offerings, and the way that I created it is so that there's a full spectrum of access points, so that no matter where somebody is on their journey, they have an access point. And what I've been synthesizing it's been 2 years now, is a course that was downloaded to me, or, you know, I synthesized it through my own embodiment, and I had to do a lot of deep diving and digging and unearthing and cultivating to look at, okay, through the totality of my initiations and my experiences and my mastery that has been gained on the field through real world, deeply intensive, fiery initiations, how do I take this broad range of wisdom and synthesize it into something that is digestible and that is fun and inspiring and creative in its nature? And what is that? And what does that look like? And I was in the birth canal for 6 entire months. I mean, my whole being was being calibrated at a level that I actually grew an inch. And I was in my early 30s as this was occurring, because my sacral was opening up so much, and I could actually feel my brain expanding. So there were intensive moments of expansion that were happening in my brain, and I was just in that for so long, as all of the data was really, like, the absorption of data was occurring in my body. And this beautiful it was revealed to me as the new divine human, but this divine avatar that has 13 dimensions to its embodiment, although ultimately, you know, from a broader perspective, the dimensions of our being are infinite and interconnected. It was in the development of human history and where we are now, what will support us with shifting into a new level of, well, true, pristine creator embodiment. And then what does the emergence of that in form look like, and what are the tools to bring that through? And so my focal point has been on this avatar of life, essentially. And there's so many, it's, you know, each dimension of it is like its own galaxy of beingness. They're all themed. They're all these beautiful, mythical expressions of divine intelligence. And so I've been reflecting on what I want to do with all of my other services at this point. Do I want to keep them, or do I want to put the full focalization into just this one avatar and all of the ways that it expresses in the world? And so I'm curious, in your own service, and when you're speaking into what you are guided to release and what you are guided to focalize at this stage, what that process looks like for you, and how you discern what you do, keep in what you gracefully let go of.
You know, like that Jinky 23, which is simplicity, and in the I Ching is slicing off, you know, slicing off the complexities, slicing off the not necessary. And another image is, this is funny, but like chasing 2 rabbits, you catch none. I feel like it's so seductive for me, Solara. You know, it was every point. It's seductive, you know, like, okay, this deep humanitarian soul, and I would love not leave anybody behind, you know, serve everybody. And really, my subconscious mind and my psyche has been talking to me in such a clear language. And my theme is really slicing off everything that is not creating the biggest impact must go
Mm-hmm.
to a larger pool that is already so full with people who are fully equipped
Yes.
to support that level of work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's
Mm.
it's really powerful, Han, but it's almost like, who is the most probable person you can have the biggest impact on? So focus on that level of consciousness. It's almost like if we're staying with the metaphor of the garden. You know, when the consciousness of somebody is ripe to receive that alchemical seed,
Mm.
that spirit can move through you, you know, and through your high priestess initiation, through your activations, that seed can actually sprout, you
Yes.
know, and you know how to cultivate that, comparing to, you know, moving rocks and preparing the soil, and it may take 5 years, right? And you will absolutely make a difference, but it's almost like we are outside of time, and if we are prime creators, we can focus on what delights and thrills us the most.
Mm-hmm.
I say, you know, choose, expand your container to receive that bigger consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of a you know, of a movement. You know, you're the type of a leader who is a movement maker in
Mm.
whatever shape you choose to express that, right? So very similar process for me, darling. You know, I have a big menu, you know, that I serve, and I've been narrowing it down and narrowing it down and narrowing it down and becoming really precise, you know, who can I do my very best work with?
Mm-hmm.
Particular level of consciousness. I can continue give free public sessions, free public talks, free Facebook lives. That's not going to go away, you know. And if somebody would actually sit down and unpack even one live stream that I deliver, one video that you deliver,
Mm-hmm.
their life would transform. So it's not about giving less giving more to everybody. Is becoming very, it's finding your freedom and commitment to a particular garden,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this another energy of the 4 is finding freedom and commitment.
Ah.
You
Mm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just gave me a massive download.
Share.
Yeah, so, well, it's in fact, right now I have about 8 things running, and what I've been toggling with a bit in my experience is, you know, and they're all elements of that larger liquid nirvana is what it's called. And ultimately the mastery of living in and as liquid nirvana. And so that is my that is my legacy. That is the masterpiece that I'm called to channel and bring through, and the expansion of that to serve all has been showed to me, the way that that is going to come through the membership, the courses, and all of this. But there's only four elements of that I really need to make accessible, because the the higher level one is quite an investment. But that, as you're saying this, I'm realizing how in my personal experience I have been pruning the garden this year, and it has, and you know, I have such a huge heart. It's been tough in certain moments, but the right and the correct and the loving, wise thing to do to release certain things, certain people from my experience in order to be at that level of service where I'm called to be. And so it's just, they're showing me the translation of that into my actual business, and just taking that next step and pruning that garden there, because that is where, and you know, as you're sharing, I'm seeing too, it really is about that potency, because when there is a collective group of beings on the planet who are deeply, richly, integrally embodied, and they are carrying that through into each moment, the power of that, the movement, the ripple that that creates in the collective field is so much more impactful. So why not focalize into supporting people who are deeply ready to receive, as you said, that consciousness, and anchoring it just one next layer deeper. And it's, it's like being the cosmic tree of life. We are so deeply rooted into those soils, and then we get to just expand out through the infinite field of beingness, and we not only hold that field, but we are that field. And so to align with beings who are there and ready to go even deeper into that, and what that does, because it is so strong and it is so expansive and open, is it acts as this lush invitation and truly a magnetic force field that draws all other consciousness into it.
Yeah.
And that feels much more effective. It's like, do you do you jump in the water to save the person who's drowning, or do you throw them the life jacket?
Yeah, darling. It's so true. And I feel like seeing that our deepest work, when it's directed to the people who can receive it the most, that's the deepest work that we can do. And this is why leaders focus on other leaders who can, alchemize the whole movements, and there is a ripple effect, and there is this element of public ministry. I feel it is so key to have that, and you and I would continually do that. And there is also that's like one of the things that I was going to share with you is I canceled a subscription model that I was going to roll out in January. And what I realized is that it would really require double the time, double the energy, and double of my focus. Carry that. Literally, it felt like I would carry that. And it would be so seductive for my ego, my personality, because it's a very cozy pool to be there. It's easy, it's cozy, I provide divine counsel, it feels great, but it's not my best work is not going to be expressed, at that level. And it's simply truth that I had to come to it. Maybe, someday down the line, it could come back, but for now I just decided to bury it and not plant that seed. And and trusting that, because my body kept giving me warnings. No, it's going to distract you from bringing your legacy vision in 2020. And by trying to be everything to everybody through the compassion of your heart, you actually going to spread yourself thin, and that's the pattern of a burnout and all of that. Instead of becoming really precise and magnifying your light, like this is the lighthouse that I am. I am I am a lighthouse, right? But now I'm going to amplify the light, so the people will know this is the particular light that you receive here.
Yes.
So the spaciousness, the spaciousness to cultivate and to receive, it is so key. So key. And another perspective, I also had like this illumination moment where I realized, okay, if there is going to be 35 plus years of this visionary leadership ahead of me, what would I love to focus on
Mm-hmm.
that is pure joy, and it's also growth, and there's mastery and all of that. And then I began to see, oh, these things that I'm doing are my zone of excellence. Again, a zone of excellence is so seductive, Solara. It's
Ooh.
like, you don't even notice, but you're in it. You're like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I feel, well, what comes through for me is that my actual capacity is so expansive that there's all these different touch points that are available, and I have the capacity to be with them fully. But so what you just said is, well, what am I going to carry forward for the next 35 years? That is a really beautiful question to dial into in order to look at what are those core offerings and services. And I suppose the biggest seduction for me is I have no shortage of ideas that can be brought into form. So then it's really looking at what those possibilities are, and which are going to be the most long-lasting, fortified, sustainable, ever expansive, you know. It's and so for me it's idea seduction.
Idea seduction.
Yeah, it's, there's all these different things. That's something I could easily offer. Do you need to have, do you need ideas for creations that you can bring into form? Here you go. But so I would love for you to expand on what is the seduction of excellence. What does that represent for you? Because that feels really, there's something there.
Oh, wow. Seduction of excellence. It's something that excellence is something that we thought, well, from the I statement, how I experience seduction of excellence is I developed a particular area of really good skill, on my way to expressing my genius. It's almost like, let's say the genius is the mountaintop. I've learned how to choose my gear, how to breathe right, how to, take breaks, how to hike that freaking mountain. But then on the way to the mountain, I kind of thought that I'm going to be a mountain guide. I am so good with this gear and this backpacks. I am a mountain guide. And people see me as a person who climbs a mountain with so much efficiency, with so much skill, and they're like, wow, you have some cool mountain climbing skills. Do you have a system for that? I'm like, wait a second, I'm going to put together a system for that. 5 steps to mountain climbing.
Yes, this is brilliant.
I've been seduced deeper and deeper and deeper away from actually taking in the scenery and remembering that the whole reason for me to climb this mountain is to actually realize what I'm capable of, to see the world from a new altitude, and to maybe open myself up to this next level of mastery and next level of vision.
Yes.
Right? But because of seduction, I begin getting recognition from my mountain climbing and packing skills. Right? And people come in like, I would like to offer you money for that skill. You're like, Reese, I could use some more resources for my next vision. Okay, I'll take it just one time. and then you begin to realize, oh my God, I'm totally seduced by my zone of excellence. It is such a normal process that happens to all of us, right? It occurs. And then when we see it, how do I realize I'm in my zone of excellence? Energy of dullness, right? I'm either working with people at a level that I am not the best fit for them. Like Solara, I am not a coach for beginners.
Yeah.
Right? I am doing disservice to them if I begin to coach people in the very beginning of the journey. It's not my gift, right? And in the beginning, it was so seductive because they're the easiest to enroll. They easiest to, spur their, like with the catalytic power, you begin their growth and there's excitement in the eyes and you feel like everybody's winning.
Yeah.
You realize, oh my God, I get to cultivate the garden for them. So honest conversation with yourself, like, who am I focusing on? What is it I'm doing? Is this my zone of genius? So zone of excellence, public recognition, something that you develop the talent out of necessity. And third, if you think about doing that for another year, you cringe inside. You're like, I am just another, person who teaches mountain climbing skills. This is not me, right? This is not my true genius.
Right. Yeah.
And anxiety builds up, and it's like, it just feels very logical, very practical to stay there because you're recognized for that, maybe a little bit. And then deeply, like, this restlessness doesn't leave, and there is bigger container. You outgrew. It's like the skinny jeans from high school that you outgrew. You're like trying to fit. Nope.
Right. And you just want to have on your gorgeous Roman Greco dress.
Yeah.
You can breathe.
Yeah. But that's that's from the book, The Big Leap, by Gay Hendricks, where he talks about 4 levels of, skill. And the zone of genius zone of excellence is where most talented people get trapped. There is a big, almost terror to make a leap from zone of excellence to zone of genius. It's unknown territory. It's what you expressed so beautifully in the beginning of our conversation. It's being in the full expression of our authentic, natural genius. No freaking slides, no preparation. Channel what you know. Trust that what's coming through is divine, divine wisdom pouring through your vessel.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. There's so much just in this is gorgeous. I was receiving visuals as you're transmitting. It's like that shift, and I feel like going back to that kind of axis or that crux point that we're at as a collective right now, and the energetic shift into 2020, is I'm feeling like that shift is, instead of climbing the mountain where we gain those tools and those systems and those steps of mastery, and then we provide those as ways for others to master climbing the mountain. It's like, can we be the mountain? Can we be the scenery? Can we be the beingness? And what I was seeing was, at that point, there's like a cascade from the top of the mountain that comes down. And it's being in that field, that potency of embodiment allows for the cascade of true genius to occur and emerge in the present moment, because all of those tools and those skills and everything that we learned when we're mastering the climbing of the mountain, it's just so wired into our system. So it's like the point of releasing the system to step into our true genius. So that the system was required to master the system, to ultimately release the system, to not need the system anymore. And what a liberating thing that is, to let that go and to be in the flow of pure, I would even just call it precision intuition, and be living in that dance and living in that flow and supporting others with stepping into that in their own experience, and trusting that in their own experience, and allowing everything else to just dissolve back into the field, to let go. And so the excellence, to me, it's almost like where we confine ourselves to those specific rituals or those systems or those, and rather than allowing there to be some type of a flexibility in our movement to trust that all of that, we're calibrated to all of that, and that our intuition will alert us or direct us in the present moment as to what is being called for then, and that everything will unfold itself in highest divine perfection if we simply be in the flow of that genius. In a lot of ways, it's the complete letting go of everything to be everything.
You got it. This conversation is so divine. It is so divine. It is that that integration that at the heart of all spirituality, right? Where, it's like another visual that I see is, like a great craftsman, great master who has apprentices and all of that, right? In old times, they had such a massive toolboxes and they knew every tool, and they didn't need to carry all the tools with them all the time. It's like there's such intuitive access to the tools that you have used, and that the ones that are appropriate for each situation, that you transcend the tool, and then you realize that you are the tool.
That's the adept.
Tool.
Exactly.
Exactly what you just said. Exactly what you just shared about the mountain. Yes, that's the big illumination. What I was thinking when I called 2019 my word of illumination, and I said illumination. And was so many things that got illuminated in this year, and really trusting the guidance. Right, mastery is trusting your deepest wisdom that lays in unknown, right? That is paradoxical in nature because it's holistic. So trusting that and living this life as a mystery of divine paradox. And that's another liberation, Solara, that I've been coming towards, is I released all this trying to figure life out and to figure love out, just letting go all these ideas, who I think my evolutionary leadership partnership should be, supposed to be, when it's supposed to be. It is just like this simplicity and purity and letting go of all definitions.
Yes.
Life is a mystery. Love is a part of life. Love is a mystery. So the less I try to figure it out, to plan it, to even call it in, I'm like, everything's spontaneously arising that is required for my experience, for my joy, for adventure. And the more I trust it, the more I give even more space. I simply stay in the field of trust.
Yes.
And when I stay in the field of trust, everything that is good, that is benevolent, that is beautiful, is spontaneously arising. Yes. All is left is to celebrate.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. That's the ultimate synthesis, right there. Is that, and one of the ways that so it's so fascinating. This there's so much juice in everything that you just transmitted, and part of my journey has been to inhabit the field of knowingness, but in that, so it was deepest surrender into the mystery, in all of the vulnerabilities, in all of the fear, and all of the tremors of being that come up as I'm letting go of not knowing, of being in a mystery and not understanding what all is unfolding, but learning how to trust deeply and to breathe into that and to feel those waves of exhilaration. And as you mentioned in one of your videos, it's that beautiful razor's edge between absolute excitement and terror. Because you know that something profoundly beautiful is being birthed, and a part of your being trusts that, but at the same time you don't know. And then deepening so far into that quanta of beingness, of sacred divine dark light is the way that I experience it. And surrendering so fully that all wisdom, all knowledge is revealed. And then from that point of knowing thyself truly in the most pure, illuminated space, holding that field of isness. And from that field of isness, where nothing is required and everything simply is, it's just the beauty and the bliss of beingness itself. In that moment, we can transcend realms of even manifestation or alchemy and all of this. And it's this stunning, transcendent field beyond creation, where all that is truly resonant and aligned to our soul and who we are being, and the story that we are consciously authoring right on infinity's edge, naturally flows into us. And it's so effortless and so graceful, and in a lot of cases it's so serendipitous, because what it is that we truly want to experience is beyond what our mind can define it to be. It is something that's just, it matches the quintessential resonance and signature of our soul. And so when it shows up, that's where the wonder and the beauty and the marvel and the true wow moments can be experienced, because wow, only my soul, beyond my mind, beyond my definitions, could have brought this into being and presented it to me. And so one of the things that I learned this year as well is that, you know, my deepest desire, and so even when I guide people in defining, actually giving diamond clarity and precision to what their desires are, is we can look at physical, tangible experiences that we want to have, and that's a beautiful part of the creation journey as well. But getting into the roots of what is the quintessential nature. So no matter how the form changes, when the form dissolves, what is it that you actually want to be experiencing in your present moment continuously? And for me, what I uncovered is that it's just about that rich, warm, golden, mystical space of encountering God in all that I am engaging with. And the felt ecstasy of that connection resonating through my cells, no matter what I am doing. That is what I actually want. And so whether that takes place through an adventure, an experience, a romance, a beautiful cozy night in, candles lit, sage burning, creating in my business, you know, whatever it is, I just want that resonance to be permeating my field in all moments. And so within the context of that, how do I just continue to deepen in the cultivation of that? And from that, all else arises. And there's no, as you said, there's no trying, there's no efforting, it's just like a breeze. And so much of what I thought that I wanted dissolved in that. I'm like, do I actually want this? And maybe it comes through in that form, you know. Is there something I've been looking at is, you know, I mean, as a, you know, just the magical like child in me has always wanted to have, you know, a legacy partner, somebody who I can truly deepen with and grow with. Like just thinking of sharing that connection with a romantic, like it brings such a depth of love through the core of my, it's like it can move me to tears to just share that field with a partner. And I realize that even in the context of that, there's some level of transience and impermanence. So how can I create? It's, you know, it's again, it's the Hieros, Gamos, the lover and the beloved, true tantra, true yoga, true union, unification with the self and the all. How can I experience that depth of romance in the here and now? And, you know, there's so many things that evoke that and provide that, you know, even just as I was listening to your video earlier, just the transmission of one, your essence, and then the stunning ocean that was behind you throughout. But it was just this huge open field of peace and beauty and wisdom and naturalness that just was emerging. And I'm like, you know, even just beyond the transmission, the, you know, the frequency and the vibration that is accessible. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I would say this previous decade was worth it. All
for sure.
for this moment. If they, you know, if there were badges of honor from the invisible worlds,
Yeah.
I would like one for the level of trust.
Yeah.
That was cultivated, especially last, I would say, like since 2015, you know, where we were like, I really felt like strapping galactic seatbelt and going
Yes. Yeah.
roller coasters. You're like, do I look and do I close my eyes?
Yeah.
And I love that because to share space and to share this altitude of conversation, I am like, we are all deepening that understanding and receiving more ease, and it's almost like another thing was zone of excellence that I see. There is a lot of trying and a lot of proving. Zone of excellence, there's unconscious desire to prove that I know that I know that this, I can do this, you know what I mean? There's case studies and there's testimonials and there's
Yeah.
in my zone of genius, I just get to allow my frequency to speak volume.
Yeah.
Right. And all of that trying and all of the proving energy just becomes unnecessary.
Yeah.
This is my compass in a way that I am entering 2020 with. The moment I start trying to prove something, here I go again, go to something that's familiar, you know.
Yeah.
What is my true sovereign sacred gift and sovereign genius, and anchor that again, and then see that in others, right? Focusing on that.
That's a really beautiful, subtle discernment. And actually, I feel like my being has been guiding me to this awareness. So I appreciate you illuminating it. Because one of the things that I have had you know, and I mean, I don't have any judgment around it, but it's something that has been maybe a habit in a lot of cases is to provide those things, like speaking into testimonials and results and things like that that can emerge from the container. But in my true heart, in my core, the motive, the actual compelling force behind that has been to offer just a representation of what is possible and what is accessible through the container. But I'm in a space and place now where I feel like that's not even necessary because of what you're speaking into, where it's like your being alone provides that. That's what's accessible. And so whatever else becomes of that is just it's icing on the cake, and it's beautiful as well. But it's not necessary to always bring that forward, and really deepening into the simplicity and the beauty of that. And so thank you for that. And thank you for that beautiful invitation and permission slip and illumination. And also another thing is in cultivating trust, and as you were saying in this last decade, well, one badge of honor granted, sister, because I know that when you hop in that roller coaster, it can be really bumpy, and and the message continuously that is reflected through reality is buckle up. Like you said, we're on this galactic ride. Buckle up. You're like a star that's flying through outer space, and there's turbulence. And the question is, in those spaces, can we trust? And where else better to actually learn through its experiential wisdom? Because we're placed in scenarios where our capacity to trust is forced to expand. We are forced to deepen it by our soul out of love in the spaces and places where it might be the most challenging for us to do so. And the beauty and the gift in that is that we realize it was safe all along.
Yay. Yes, darling. It is so good. And you're simply becoming like that role model of trust. And that's like, when I think about what really inspires somebody to come and request the container of transformation with you or with me. There's two things. People trust you, and they trust your spiritual integrity. They trust your, devotion. They trust the divine truth that is channeling through you. Another element is respect. So there's trust and respect together, right? And by having this authentic conversation, people respect, authenticity. People respect like truth. Like, I'm in the marketing for truth. Like, that's the only thing I market.
Yes. What else is there?
Right? Yeah. Right. And the first that expressed was from Richard Rudd when he was bringing the Pearl sequence, and he said, the sequence, which is prosperity activation for some people who may be listening, be like, what's the Pearl sequence? It's like, if you just remember, you market truth. And simplicity becomes your way of being efficient with your words. Right? How do you say, in the most loving, compassionate way, but also that it just pierces illusion, and that's why any kind of all this extra stuff that was really useful until this point just becomes not so useful.
And it's beautiful too, though, because it's like all the energetic weight just sloughs off. Right to the focal point, right to the heart of the matter, always. Always. And there was something else that wanted to come through. You just evoked so many beautiful portals of transmission. Yes, I was going to ask you what your pearl is.
Oh, it's illumination.
Oh, of course it is.
It's a gift of imagination. It's the city of illumination. So it's the 64, the last one.
Beautiful.
And you know how he calls it, the confusion is a sacred ground. And that's the shadow that comes with it. And the confusion has been such a powerful shadow to alchemize and to deepen and to go through it and to see it. And it's like you've been on the fog. You're like covered. And I live by the ocean, and some of the days I wake up, especially like in May gray or June gloom, it looks like entire taking a bath, and
Uh-huh.
you can't see at all. It's so far, and if it stays like that, you'll know, no, there's an island and there's this beautiful dolphins and all of this.
Mhm.
And the only thing is left is just to wait it out and to trust. Again, there's this word, to stay in the frequency of trust.
Mhm.
The deeper the confusion, the bigger the illumination on the other side.
Yes. So confusion was revealed to me as looking. I say, I love etymology and words. Language is, I love it. So when I was going through really deep, intensive alchemical processes in my own experience, I was hearing, so to look up con infusion. So con meaning with, infusion being fusion. So it's where we're actually fusing with more of our light from our light body. So all of the places and spaces where there was, it's like base metals into gold, or in the actual human body, it's a carbon-based system into crystalline diamond light and plasma. It's where all of that is transmuting and transforming, and the quicker that we surrender to the alchemy of it, the quicker the light can actually integrate. And so it's like when a sacred geometrical pattern expands and it transcends and includes. So it is including everything, all of the information, all of the data, all of the geometry from the previous cycle. And as we move into a new spiral of beingness and it expands out, the pattern becomes more rich and complex. So we're actually just fusing with more expanded dimensions of energy and consciousness and wisdom, and allowing it to come online.
You. I was like, whoa. Somebody write this down, pause that part, and scribe it. Because it was the next thought. I just felt soft energy came through, just started geometry. This is so good, darling. So good. Yeah. Everybody will be watching, thank you for playing with us with this. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I saw that. Thank you for this gift of next level of understanding. That's exactly that. Yeah, you expand the container, you expand the vision. This is what precisely the process that I was in for the last 3 days. It started on the weekend, and I had a huge illumination. Then it just pulled me right back in. Like, nope, we're just warming up.
Yep. Yeah. And the bigger the illumination that's occurring, the more time, patience. This is where patience is valuable. We are called to deepen into that. And this is really powerful for both the masculine and the feminine to be aware of in our journey, is when that is an extended period, instead of viewing it as something that's potentially wrong or trying to, we feel those urges to be doing something or to jump into action prematurely, to really melt even more richly and deeply into those spaces, because something profound and beautiful and magnificent is about to emerge. And so to honor those deep spaces and to savor them, really, what a gift. And then living in that field of trust and knowing this, everything is provided and we're supported and all is well and everything is good. And so really trusting those phases. And that I had to learn to trust those phases at the very beginning of my journey, when I literally had nothing to hold on to except trust. And so I can deeply empathize with what it's like. Because, it's one thing, we're very fortunate and blessed to have all that we have in our life and our experience, but to be in a space and place where we don't have much and we are called into those deep containers and spaces, that's a whole other ball game. And so deep reverence and respect to those souls who go there and who learn in those spaces, because then it's really it's really integrated and it's really integral and it's
I'm so glad that you spoke to that. And, I began to feel those moments in my experience and my being. And, you know, the, the experience of grace, like the less there is something to hold on to, the closer is grace. And I remember in 2015 when I surrendered my life to spirit. It was like a step. It was a process of surrender, right? But 2015, I burned. 2016, I burned all the bridges. Let go of the cash cow job that was supporting me. I just cut every single thread with the old identity that really served me and was too small. It was suffocating. And I remember, finding myself in that place of this absolute emptiness, entity. And like to feel that breath of grace on you when there's nothing to hold on to. In those moments, you really realize how supported and how provided you are, how watched over you are. And I am so glad for those moments, because on the leadership path, as you know, right, they come in different. They just wear different outfits. Those. Yes. So you may have the money in the bank coming in. You have roof under your head. That's fine. But there's always like this. There's this unexpected twist, right? And I'm checking it's such an invitation to really look at my attitude to rapid change.
Yes.
And I became, I married, I was like, my partner is called change.
Profound and absolutely brilliant. Yes. Yes.
Husband, his name is Change.
Absolutely. That's exactly that. Again, that dance between that's our husband is being with that kaleidoscope and that dance that is ever novel unfolding creation that we are a part of, and finding the security and the stability in that. So I find that that's where true integrity and security comes from, is the stability within the seeming instability, but finding a sense of joy and possibility and curiosity in all of that, and not fear and contraction.
Yeah. That is the frequency that this new decade, I feel, I just feel it's here. It's finding, like, I'm entering the personal year 5, 2020, which is all massive change, right? It's change, it's transformation, adventure, travel. And I am so grateful for these years of cultivating intimacy with change and purging out fears around it, and actually finding real stability, just like you expressed, in seemingly instability. It's such joy for me, like, if whenever I help people who find my work, and when I help them in that, to purge out that unconscious distrust in life, I feel it's some of the deepest work that can last a whole lifetime.
Yes.
Right? To help that, rewire that. And I'm like, okay, now you can keep going, because life begins to guide that person.
Yes. Yeah, and what you're giving them is the truest, most genuine gift of freedom. Mm-hmm. The most genuine kind of freedom that there is, because it's eternal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just love you so much.
sister. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, my heart is really full. Thank you. And I am so grateful there are sovereign, divine geniuses, beings like you, who just, you just really, the embodiment of joy and ease and mastery. I love that you don't have a cell phone. You still don't have a cell phone, or you got one?
No, but this is great. Well, I feel like I may in the next couple of months. I've been kind of like, it's on the list, and I don't feel any type of a hurry for it. The only reason I would is to actually expand things out in my service more. But I've been very fortunate and blessed to build a multiple six-figure business without one. 35 years old.
You're such a rebel. I love
So much of my life has been literally magicked into being. Literally through the field, through I would say divine technology more so than actual physical technology, but it may be time. And plus, I do feel a sense of a joy that emerges too, because I really love to inspire through visual and graphic art, and being able to have a device with me where I can share and express more of my experiences and channel and transmit and flow. It just spontaneously feels fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's divine technology. I love that. I love that. I think it's so powerful. So powerful. Assisting others to plug in into that.
Yeah, yes. I mean, because again, that's no matter where you are, there you shall be. And so becoming the adept, becoming the tool, becoming the philosopher's stone, and you are never contingent upon anything outside. Nothing is ever contingent upon anything external. Everything external becomes a gift and a blessing and a joy and a delight, but not something that is required to experience our wholeness or the fullness of our creator capacities.
And so it is.
Yes.
Sister, thank you
Yes.
for putting me in this beautiful container of purity, love, and wisdom.
Ah, yes. Thank you. Thank you for all of the deep work and devotion that you have so masterfully embodied and committed to on your path. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sister, so much. I just enjoyed this conversation so much, darling.
Yes.
Look forward to the replay whenever it's ready, and I'm going to go and nurture myself.
Yes, enjoy. Enjoy. I love you so much, and we shall connect in again soon. So, mwah.
Thank you, darling, so much.
Bye-bye.